Hello all, thank you for joining Chat with Advisor today. We start on our info session today on 7.5. Thank you. Welcome back to Chat with Education USA Advisor. Terima kasih sudah bergabung dengan Chat with Advisor hari ini. Sebelumnya saya mau mengucapkan selamat berbuka puasa, selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa bagi yang menjalankan. And today this event is collaboration event between Education USA from Malang, Surabaya, and Jakarta. So before we start, I would say hello with my colleague from Jakarta, Mas Iqbal. Can I
Hello,
say something,
hi.
Iqbal?
No, okay. I just thank you so much for joining this event. Okay, I think this is a great event and there's a lot of information that you can get. All right, enjoy it.
And next, my colleague from Surabaya, Ambar Rizky. Hi, Ambar.
Hi, Zaki. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. It is a very rare opportunity, actually, that we can gather like several UC schools at one event. Yeah. So if you have any burning questions, if you are preparing your application for this year's intake, for example, because it's coming really soon, like it's just like, suddenly it's like almost deadline. So this is your opportunity to meet and chat with them directly.
Okay, thank you, Amber. As my colleague mentioned, today we have the special guest. Not only one university representative joining us today, we have the four University California representative for today. We have the University California Berkeley, and then we have University California Irvine, University California Davis, and also University California Santa Barbara. Before we start, I would like to introduce what Education USA is. Apa itu Education USA? Yang belum pernah ikut info sesi dari Education USA, supaya tahu juga Education USA itu seperti apa dan apa. Jadi Education USA ini adalah jaringan dari pemerintah Amerika Serikat, dari Kementerian Luar Negeri Amerika Serikat, yang bertugas untuk membantu teman-teman melanjutkan studi lanjutnya di Amerika Serikat. Servis kita meliputi one-on-one advising atau konsultasi satu dengan para advisor yang ada. Terus kemudian kita juga membantu proses pendaftaran ke kampus yang ada di Amerika Serikat. Kita juga melakukan orientasi sebelum keberangkatan. Kita juga membantu teman-teman untuk mencarikan financial aid atau funding ataupun beasiswa yang tersedia untuk melanjutkan studi di Amerika dan segala sesuatu yang berhubungan di sekolah di Amerika Serikat. Karena kami saat ini masih dalam pandemi, jadi belum 100% kembali work from office, kita masih work from home. Jadi sementara ini service kita bisa diakses melalui online. Jadi teman-teman semuanya kalau membutuhkan bantuan kami boleh untuk melihat di sosial media kita, di Instagram, di Twitter maupun di Facebook di @educationusa Indonesia. Di sana nanti akan ada link yang merujuk kepada advisor yang ada di Indonesia. Kita punya 6 kantor yang ada di Indonesia, ada di Aceh, kemudian ada di Jakarta, ada di Jakarta ada 2, ada di Jakarta di US Embassy, di Kedutaan Besar Amerika Serikat yang ada di Jakarta. Kemudian juga punya Education USA yang ada di Amerika, jadi teman-teman juga bisa untuk pergi ke sananya. Terus kemudian kita juga punya Education USA yang ada di Surabaya, kemudian saya sendiri ada di Malang, dan kita juga punya yang terakhir itu ada di Education USA yang ada di Makassar. Jadi silahkan teman-teman untuk yang membutuhkan bantuan untuk melanjutkan studi lanjutnya ke Amerika, silahkan untuk menghubungi kami. Semua servis yang kami sediakan itu bersifat free of charge alias gratis, tidak ada biaya yang dipungut sama sekali. Seperti itu. Oke. And this session, we have the 40 minutes presentation from our guest speaker. And at the end of this session, we have the breakout room for each university. If you have a specific question, please ask them to our university representative. Okay. Before we start, please unmute your microphone, and then without further ado, please welcome University California Berkeley, University California Irvine, University California Davis, and University California Santa Barbara. Please welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us today and hosting this event. I'm going to share my slides right now. And yeah, we will all introduce ourselves. So my name is Danielle Kanzler, and I'm an Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the University of California, Berkeley. Today, I'm also joined by a few of my colleagues at other University of California campuses. So we'll get started. Before we get started, we'll all do introductions. Amelia, would you like to start with introducing yourself?
Great. Hi, good evening, everyone. Good morning from California. My name is Amelia Gray. I'm Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment at the University of California, Davis, and an international specialist. So I specialize in working with international students. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Amelia. Pimjai, would you like to go next?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Pimjai Santatiwat. I'm the Assistant Director of International Outreach, and I work with a lot of students from Indonesia. So thank you for joining us today for this session, and I look forward to connecting with you later on.
Great, thank you. And Alma?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alma Villa. I'm the Assistant Director of International Evaluations at the University of Santa Barbara, and I oversee all of the application pools. So welcome.
Great. And so we're going to give a brief presentation today on the University of California system, as well as things to consider really when researching the UC system and our individual campuses, as well as our standardized application process. As it was mentioned at the end of the presentation, we'll have time to address questions through our breakout rooms. We'll also share a little bit about what makes our individual campuses unique, just so you can have a better idea, really the differences in the University of California system. So let's jump right in. The University of California is one of the largest university systems in the world. The campus that I work at, UC Berkeley, was actually the first UC in the University of California system. But since our founding in 1868, the University of California system has grown to include campuses throughout the state. Together, these campuses have a long history of contributing to the region, state, country, and world. Academic programs are offered at the undergraduate and graduate levels, with 9 of our campuses offering undergraduate programming. While we all share the same UC undergraduate application, we do operate independently of each other. So this means that we won't know if you're applying to another campus within the UC system when we read your application. This also means that we have some different entry policies and requirements. And each campus is also going to have its own unique offerings when it comes to locations, as well as majors, and really the overall feel of their campus community. To get more in depth, it's important to know that the University of California system is a public university encompassing research institutions. And our research is not restricted to only the STEM majors and fields. I know that's a common misconception. We really frame our entire curriculum around the question of why. And as a result, we teach students how to critically think through problems in their field, whether that's dance, film, biology, or engineering. All of the campuses are highly ranked, with 6 of the 9 undergraduate campuses being in the top 11 public schools in the country. We are all also proud of our retention and graduation rates. The average 6-year graduation rate in the US is about 58%, but the UCs actually range from 70 to 92% when you look at the individual campuses. Each UC provides a unique experience for their students. And it's important to think about what type of institution will be your best fit as you pursue your university applications. To determine whether a university is the best fit for you, it's important to ask yourself questions about what fit really means for you and what it means for you to be successful. You might ask, how do we find this best fit? What does that really mean? Well, you'll want to ask yourself what you need out of your education and your college experience to reach your personal goals. You'll want to ask your family what they need and what they expect from you, because likely they are a stakeholder in this decision, whether for a financial reason or for another. And you'll want to ask the university what it offers and what it can provide for you. And attending presentations like this one today is a great opportunity to do that. You'll want to think about things like academic fit. Does the university have the right major for you? You want to think about social fit. What kind of community is there at the university? The environmental fit. Where is that university located? Is it somewhere you can be comfortable? That could be seasons of the year that are important to you, or it could be geography. Maybe you want to be able to have a direct flight home to see your family. You want to think about, is it a financial fit? Can you afford to pay for the university? And is it a professional fit? Are there the right resources and opportunities for you to really be able to catapult yourself into your career? And remember, everyone has different needs and wants, so there's no right or wrong answer to these questions. It's really about figuring out what you need as an individual to be successful at the university, and then identifying that in schools that you're considering. So for example, I speak with a number of high school students that might be interested in, say, the medical field. And if this is you, you'll want to consider campuses that are near medical centers so that you can start doing research and get experience even during your undergraduate study. This could be campuses like UC Davis, UC Irvine, UCLA, UC San Diego. UC San Francisco only offers graduate programming, but they're right across the bridge from us in Berkeley here as well. And that's just one example. So maybe you want to study and also ensure that you're close to internship opportunities during your undergraduate program. You want to look into the locations of the schools that you're considering. Maybe you could do one over this summer, but maybe you want to do it at the same time as your study. So you want to make sure that that location really aligns with your interests and what you're planning to study and eventually pursue for your career. And if you don't know what you want to study yet, or you're still exploring a number of different options, I highly encourage you to check out academic guides for individual campuses so that you can become familiar with what majors are available and how that lines up with your career goals. The great thing about the UC application is that these majors will also actually populate directly within the application. And so depending on the campus that you apply to, you'll either select one or two majors. At UC Berkeley, for example, students are only able to apply to one major, but many of our campuses, and you can ask more about this in our breakout rooms later, are going to offer the option to apply to a second major or potentially a backup option so that you can be considered even if you're not admitted to your first choice program. In addition to the personality and location of each UC being different, our sizes range from medium to large in terms of the number of students. However, no matter which UC campus you select, you're going to have the chance to engage really with intellectually curious students who are passionate about their education and committed to academic exploration and excellence. So what types of experiences and resources are consistent across all of the UC campuses? Well, there's plenty. Each of our campuses offer a range of support to our students, from academic tutoring and career centers to wellness and counseling programs. All campuses are part of the UC library system as well, so you'll have access to plenty of virtual and print materials throughout your undergraduate study. All UC campuses offer undergraduate research, giving you a chance to work directly with faculty that are known around the world in their fields. Additionally, we offer a number of joint programs such as UC-DC, a program where students spend a semester doing an internship in Washington, DC, while living with students from all of the UC campuses. These students typically do their internships on Capitol Hill, but there are also opportunities with the Smithsonian's, the museums, the FBI or CIA, and other DC-based agencies. The UC Study Abroad program is also considered one of the top in the world. So I know most of you would already be kind of studying abroad during your bachelor's degree program at a UC, but you can study abroad again. We partnered to over 300 different opportunities in 40 different countries. So there's lots of different options there. And in addition to your academic major, UC campuses have a range of extracurricular opportunities that you can engage in during your undergraduate studies that are really extending beyond the classroom. So many of our students choose to get involved, and in fact, students who are engaged are actually more likely to graduate on time and report being satisfied with their undergraduate experience. So the percentages that you see here on the screen, they're reflecting system-wide percentages. I'd encourage you to look into the individual campuses that you're interested in as well, just to see how it might differ. More than half of UC students are involved in internships, practicums, or field experience. 42% participate in community service off campus, with another 30% participating in community service on campus. And almost 9 out of 10 students work with faculty on research or creative projects during their bachelor's degree programs. Even beyond these opportunities, our campuses have a range of different clubs and learning experiences available to all of their students. And with that, I will hand it over to my colleague at UC Irvine to discuss the application process for freshman admission.
Thank you, Danielle, for a great introduction and overview to the University of California system. Now, I will take just the next 5 to 10 minutes or so to talk about freshman admissions to the UC schools. There are several admissions pathways to the UC campuses, mainly first year or freshman admissions and transfer admissions, which Amelia will cover that in just a moment. So first, before we dive into the requirements, I want to take a moment as well to define who are first year applicants. We use the term first year and freshman interchangeably. So just kind of keep in mind that that's all one and the same. The first year applicant is defined as someone who is currently in high school and will enroll at one of our campuses in the fall immediately following high school graduation. So high school students are still allowed to take college level courses and so be considered as a first year applicant as long as those college courses were taken during high school years or in the summer immediately after graduation. So if you have already graduated from your high school and perhaps you're taking a gap year to do study abroad, internships, but you're not enrolled in a university or college during a regular term, you would be considered as first year applicant. So just keep that in mind. If that's where you're at, just kind of talk to one of us to determine which type of applicant you're applying for. For next slide, let's go over some of the requirements, the general requirements, and this might be slightly different from applicant to applicant, depending on the curriculum that you are currently enrolled in, depending on the high schools that curriculums that are offered at your school. But it's also important to mention that the UC application is a very simple process. Like Daniel mentioned earlier, all UC campuses, we share the same UC applications, which means you would only need to submit one application to apply as many as 9 campuses. And the UC application is uniquely designed to be very student-centric. So as an applicant, you are going to be the one who would self-report your high school coursework, the grades that you've earned for those courses, all of the activities and involvement that you have participated in. You will have an opportunity to share with us to elaborate any of those experiences or involvement through the personal insight questions as well. What's really unique about the UC application as well is that we do not accept letters of recommendation unless it's requested by each individual campus. But as far as the main requirements go, we don't accept letters of recommendation. We do not conduct interviews, nor do we call your counselors or teachers for references. So basically, you are your own advocate for your accomplishments. And once you complete the application online, pay the application fee, then you can simply send the application to, again, as many as 9 campuses for us to review. And so when it comes to the requirements, there are a set of subjects that we are looking for in order to determine your admissions eligibility. And generally, these are a combination of history, social science courses. We're looking to see that you hopefully will complete 4 years of English in the last 4 years of your secondary school. We definitely want to see you complete at least 3 years of math, 2 years of science courses, 2 years of foreign language, 1 year of visual and performing arts, and 1 year of college prep electives. As an international applicant, your admissions requirements may be different, again, right, depending on the curriculum. So if you are in a national curriculum, there might be a set of requirements and a high school diploma that each of our campus would list on our website based on, in Indonesia. If you are in an international curriculum, for example, A-levels or IB diploma programs, you'll be held to different requirements and grades for admissions as well. And the great thing about our campuses is that we each have a dedicated team of international admissions, international evaluators who will help guide you in determining the admissions eligibility, right, based on your school school curriculum and your country. So you can always just reach out to us if your situation is unique to you and you're unsure whether or not you meet the minimum requirements in the subject areas. When it comes to GPA, we are going to be looking at the minimum GPA of 3.4 for international applicants. And the way that UC campuses calculate your GPA might be most likely is different than the way your high school calculates your GPA. So just kind of keep that in mind. We're mainly looking at the grades from your 10th and 11th coursework, starting from the summer before 10th all the way through the end of summer after your 11th to determine the UC admissions GPA. And lastly, as an international applicant, you also need to demonstrate your English proficiency, either through the most popular tests are TOEFL or IELTS. And the minimum that we require for all campuses is 80 on the internet-based test for TOEFL or 6.5 on IELTS. We recently have made an exception to allow Duolingo English exam or English test online. But I believe those will get updated in the coming months in terms of whether or not that will be an acceptable test for fall 2023 intake. So just kind of stay tuned, check the website regularly for those updates. For next slide, I want to also take a moment to address the changes in standardized test requirements. And this is one of the questions we often receive from students because the test policy has changed over the years. And I'm here to say that UC will not consider SAT or ACT test scores in the admissions, nor in the selection or scholarships review process. However, applicants can self-report the scores on the UC application, but those scores will not be released to us during the review process, nor in the selection process. The only time that we might use them is if we need to use them as an alternative method to fulfill the minimum requirements, for example, the subject areas that I just mentioned, or after admissions for course placement once you are matriculated at one of our campuses. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. If that's something that you are planning to take, that's great because that may still be a requirement for other university admissions, but just note that for UC campuses, we do not use standardized test scores for selections or admissions. For next. When it comes to selections, now that you have a good understanding of the minimum admissions requirements for first years, what do we look for in the selection? So basically, the UC system, we receive an overwhelming number of first year applications basically every year, right? And also, unfortunately, we cannot admit everyone who meets the minimum requirements. This is where each of our campus starts to do things slightly different. The way in which our campuses select students varies, and campuses also use multiple factors when selecting students. Students are always considered in the context of their school and family, and within the overall applicant pool to that campus. And each campus will complete their own individual review of the application independently of one another, which means we are not going to base our decisions on other campuses' admissions decisions on your application. So it is to your advantage to make sure that you include as much information as possible on the application. Again, right, you are your own self-advocate, so the more you can share about your home environment, school environment, the unique curriculums that may shape how you select your classes in high school, that will be all important for all the admissions representatives when we review and read your application. And so one of the ways that we review applications is that we approach all applications holistically. In general, campuses are looking for well-qualified students who have taken advantage of the educational opportunities presented to both inside and outside of classroom, right? So all the UC campuses will conduct a comprehensive review, but we each have our own methods of comprehensive review process. And some are holistic, some are not, right? But, and these are all determined the faculty at each of the campuses. So these are just kind of like a short list of the things that we are looking for. We are definitely going to be paying attention to your academic achievement. This may include, will include your GPA. It would certainly include like courses that you have completed, the courses that you are planning on taking in your senior year. We might be looking at your academic trends, right? Is there an upward trends in your grades? If available within your school curriculum, we might be looking at the number of honors APs, IB higher level courses, right? The rigor of your coursework leading up to your senior year. Again, it depends on what's available within your school and environment. So in addition to the academic achievements, we will be paying close attention to the qualitative factors such as your special talents, achievements, awards. We will also factor life experiences and special circumstances as part of how we contextualize your application and how we measure your success within the opportunities, resources that are available to you, right? Geographical location may play a big role in providing that context. For example, if you live in a major metropolitan area, chances are you may have more access to internships, volunteers programs, etc. And so we might be looking to see if are you taking advantage of those opportunities. So as a reader, we're looking for these clues and context in your, especially in the responses as part of the personal insight questions. And so it's important that you spend time completing the application, be thoughtful in your answers, and be descriptive as possible when completing the applications, because we want to understand where you're coming from so that we can better evaluate and measure your success within your context. So that pretty much sums up all the admissions requirements. I would love to share more as far as like what UC Irvine is looking for, and each one of our campuses will probably be able to share more information regarding first year applications for our school. But again, if you have any questions, we would love to take you later at the end of the presentation. And I'll turn over to Amelia, who will share with us about transfer pathway.
Thank you so much, Pimjai. All right, so Pimjai talked a lot about freshman admission, but it's not the only path available to you to get to a UC campus. There's a wide number of reasons that many students might choose the transfer admission path. Maybe you weren't sure what you wanted to study or where you wanted to study. Perhaps your secondary education requires you to focus on certain subjects and you've decided you want to study something else. Perhaps you want to stay home longer. Maybe you were not admitted in the extra competitive freshman applicant pool. And it can also make really good financial sense to families for students to study at a junior college before transferring. Next slide, please. So how do you know if you're a freshman student or a transfer student? We talked a lot about how do you know you're a freshman student. You are a transfer student if you've officially left or completed high school or your secondary education. I know that in Indonesia, some of you, perhaps not in this group, but some students maybe have friends that have left their secondary school after lower secondary, but many complete upper secondary, as it will leave you with more first year options at university. If you have enrolled in any regular term of university, like Pimjai was saying, not just the summer right after you complete high school, but after leaving or completing secondary education, you're going to be considered as a transfer applicant and should apply as a transfer applicant. If you're looking at community college transfer programs in the US, you might want to talk to those programs and clarify if they include a high school diploma or completion component to fully understand how that might impact your options to apply as a freshman or transfer student to UC later on. Next slide, please. UC has a really strong transfer population, and all of our campuses are committed to making it even stronger. So each campus and system-wide as a whole, we're committed to enrolling one transfer student for every 2 freshman applicants. And transfer students already make up over 30% of all University of California undergraduates, which is a much larger number than at other comparable institutions. You'll find in the US, there are some bachelor's level institutions that specialize in the first-year freshman experience only. So it's good to check on what the admission statistics are for transfer applicants for any schools that you're considering applying to. At UC, we do give the highest priority in transfer admission to students that are coming from California community colleges. There are 116 community colleges in California, and all 116 of those have articulated courses and paths to UC admission. UC-wide, we admitted 75% of California community college students for fall 2019. When you're looking at planning transfer enrollment, there are a lot of great resources online. Some of these include the UC Transfer Admission Planner, a list of transfer pathways, and that's going to have the set of course expectations of what you should take for a variety of majors across campuses. So if you say, I want to study biological sciences or the equivalent of pre-med, what courses do I need to take? It's going to help you pick courses that are going to then be applicable to any of the campuses with those majors that you want to apply to. If you're a community college student, it's going to help you narrow down the courses that you need for preparation for all the different campuses. No campus is going to require more than this set of courses for admission, but each of us vary in our selectivity in terms of GPA requirements. So it's still really important to review the admission website for each individual campus you're planning on applying for transfer admission to see what that campus's specific requirements are. So the pathway is really good preparation, but you still need to talk to individual campuses about their requirements as well. 6 of the 9 undergraduate UC campuses, including my own campus, UC Davis, offer what we call the Transfer Admission Guarantee, or TAG, to students from all California community colleges. Students who submitted a TAG had a nearly 99% acceptance rate for fall 2019. So it's a program you would work with your community college counselor here in California after your first year of study to apply for it, list out your plan for your second year of study, and know before you even need to submit that UC application that, like, yes, if I meet the conditions of this contract, I will have a space held for me. Next slide, please. So what do I need to do? There are some academic requirements, same as the A through G and GPA requirements for freshmen. Not the same requirements, but a similar pattern you need to follow. So the minimum requirements for transfer students include a course pattern, a certain number of transferable units or credits that you need to have completed, and a minimum GPA. Most campuses and majors will only admit junior level transfer students. So this means you're going to need to complete your first 2 years of your 4 years bachelor degree at a properly recognized program. While our campuses accept credit from properly recognized 2- and 4-year institutions around the world, the clearest and easiest path for you to transfer to UC is going to be coming from a California community college. First of all, you're going to need to take what we call the 7-course pattern. It includes taking 2 transferable courses in English composition. These are not courses you're really going to be able to get outside of an institution where English is the primary language of instruction, and they can actually be difficult to find outside of US institutions. You're going to need 1 transferable course in mathematical concepts and quantitative reasoning. So that's things like higher level pre-calculus, statistics, calculus, things generally above the intermediate algebra level. You're going to also need to take 4 courses chosen from at least 2 areas of arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, and physical and biological sciences. So you don't need to hit all 3 of those areas, but you need to have 4 courses from at least 2 of the 3 different areas. Honestly, most students, by the time you've completed your 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units, you'll generally have taken a wide enough breadth of courses that you'll meet that requirement. So what are 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units? That's the equivalent of having your first 2 full years of university level study done. You don't need to have it completed by the time you apply to UC, but on your application, you do need to show us the plan to have all of this completed by the end of your last term before matriculating. So most of our campuses are only open for fall enrollment intake. So when you apply, you would need to complete these requirements by the end of your last spring term. You don't need to have it done before you apply, like I said. We do have a minimum 2.8 GPA requirement for students that are not California residents. Honestly, many of our campuses select at a higher GPA. So while that's the minimum, we strongly urge you to perform as well as you can and get the highest GPA possible. Meeting the basic requirements doesn't guarantee you admission to the campus or major of your choice. So to be competitive, focus on meeting the requirements for the campuses and majors you're interested in. For example, an economics program at one campus may have a different minimum GPA requirement than an engineering program at the same campus. So it's really good to investigate those programs. Specifically for some majors, you should focus on completing the major course preparation and those general education requirements. We have some links to these websites that we're going to share with Education USA and your counselors as well. So you don't need to remember this when I'm saying it, but they include the UC TAP website and assist.org, which is a really good website for students at any California community college to see exactly what the community college equivalent course of the UC course they need is. Next slide, please. So as with first year admission, our campuses are all looking for well-qualified transfer students that have taken advantage of the educational opportunities, both inside and outside your classrooms. It's important to note this isn't a checklist. You don't need to do everything on here. You may meet multiple criteria for comprehensive review. So they're going to be considered by campuses within the entire context of your application rather than as, points you earn or a way we're ranking students. We know when students apply as transfer students, your lives may often look very different than freshman applicants. Sometimes people have home responsibilities that are different. They may be working, they have other things going on. So we do take all of that into consideration as part of the program. If you're looking at doing co-curricular activities, an internship or something, and your academic accomplishments, academics are going to be one of the most important things. So it's more important that you have your course preparation and a strong GPA than maybe you performed well in the volleyball match. So definitely focus on your academics as well. But with the personal insight questions and addressing all of this, it's also going to help us get to know you as a person. Same thing for transfer applicants as freshmen. We don't look at letters of recommendation or any of that at UC unless specifically requested. So do consider those personal insight questions as a way to address this and how we can really get to know you and the context of your academic performance. Next slide. So how do I apply? The UC application is available online starting on August 1st. So you can start working on it pretty early. It's still in the summer, but you don't need to submit it, and you actually can't hit the submit button until November 1st. Like we said earlier, it's one application that you can have distributed to up to 9 of our undergraduate campuses. And our admission review is separate. So you might be admitted at one campus, no campuses, or all 9 campuses, depending on how many places you want to have that application considered at. The application fee per campus is $80 for international students. If someone does happen to have permanent residency or citizenship, the fee is $70, and there are also fee waivers available, but I think that perhaps most people in this audience may not qualify for that, but you can talk to us about that in our breakout rooms if you have more detailed questions on it. Applications are not necessarily reviewed in the order in which they're submitted. So, and it looks like Danielle's an update. We actually are going to start letting people submit them in October this year. So that's a new update. But even if you turn them in October, they're not going to be reviewed necessarily in the order they're submitted. So it's more important that you take the time to work on your application and complete it accurately and well. And you don't need to get it in the second you can get it in, because getting it in first doesn't mean you're going to have a greater chance of admission. So applicants should make sure that you're ready to submit the application before clicking the submit button. Look over it yourself. While we don't require counselor input, it's important to have people you trust and know you look over your applications and your personal insight questions. Give it another review. If there's something that raises a question, a gap in education, a drop in grades, anything like that, those personal insight questions and additional comment sections are a great place to tell us about those issues as well. And then admission notifications are going to start going out. So you apply, the last day to submit is going to be November 30th, and admission notifications for freshmen begin going out in March of the following year and in April for transfer students. And I will pass it back to Danielle.
Awesome. Thanks, Amelia. And so before November rolls around and you're really kind of working against that clock to finish your application, it's important to take some time to prepare yourself for that process. You want to think about a number of different things. So consider what campuses you're going to be applying to and what your top majors are at each institution. As I mentioned earlier, you can learn more about those majors through academic guides available through each campus. You can ask us more in the breakout rooms too. You'll also want to work with your high school or high schools if you've attended multiple, and really get a copy of your results, anything from an examination board, as well as your internal results from the high school. If you've attended a university, you'll want those results too, because we are a self-reported application that we're using, and you'll actually indicate your grades, your marks, any exam results right on that application when you're filling it out, so that we have that information while we're reviewing your application. Know that all students do sign a statement of application integrity as part of the UC application process. So you really want to ensure you're being accurate in self-reporting that information. You don't need to translate any grades for us or kind of evaluate them on the US side. We'll handle all of that for you right in our offices. That's part of why we have international specialists that are reading your application and are reviewing it, so that we can really know the local context as we're reviewing what you're submitting to us and what your peers are as well. It's also a good idea to start drafting your personal insight questions prior to the month of November. You can find the list of questions you have to choose from either within the application or on the University of California website. So there are 8 different options, and you'll actually select 4 to answer. You'll be able to write a maximum of 350 words per response. I did a presentation a few months ago on kind of how to think about these personal insight questions with Education USA. So definitely reach out to the advisors and they can direct you to a link for that presentation as well if you're not quite sure where to start. And then finally, it can be helpful to put together a document really outlining all of your activities during high school, and in the case of our transfer applicants, during your initial university study, including any awards that you've earned. Keep in mind, extracurricular is a pretty broad term that could encompass things you're doing at school or in your community, maybe responsibilities to your family, paid employment, volunteer work, among many other things. But making that list, including the time that you've spent on each activity, weeks per or hours per week and weeks per year, that will help you to stay organized for all of your college applications, as well as future opportunities too. And so I do want to make one note today just on cost and financial aid, because we get these questions a lot. The University of California is regularly recognized for the value of education that we're offering to students, but it is important to know that there are very limited scholarships available for international students. So as a public university for the state of California, we are required to serve our California residents first and foremost. And therefore, there's not much else left in terms of aid. We do have Regents and Chancellor scholarships that all students are automatically considered for with their application for admission, but a very small percentage of our applicant pool is receiving that scholarship. So it's not something to count on. You will see all available UC scholarships for incoming freshmen listed directly on that application for admission. And then I'd also encourage you to check in with the international office at the campuses that you're interested in. They can assist you in determining if there's any additional scholarship opportunities available to you. And Education USA can also be a great resource in looking at local funding opportunities, even within the country, that you can use really for your studies in the US. And then finally, another way to reduce the cost of your undergraduate education is, as we mentioned, looking at that California Community College transfer pathway. That really allows you to have a lower tuition price point for the first 2 years of your studies while you're at that community college, and then you can apply to transfer to the UC campus of your choice. I do have some links for you all today. So we've spoken a lot about the application process. I just want to ensure that you have some resources as you navigate this application process and explore the university system further. Highly encourage photos, screenshot, whatever helps you to really take note of this slide. We are going to talk just briefly about our campuses, kind of introduce them to you. But first, I just wanted to ask Education USA, all of the advisors, were there any major questions you wanted us to address generally before we go into our individual campuses? All right, looks like we're all good. So I will just briefly introduce Berkeley. So to get started, as I mentioned, I am an international specialist at the University of California, Berkeley. Berkeley's campus is located really in an eclectic college town, but it's within a larger metropolitan area. So we're right next to San Francisco, California, as well as Oakland, connected by public transit to both. Berkeley is really just an extension of the campus. It's a town with about 30,000 undergraduate students and 120,000 people total. So approximately 1 in every 4 people in the community is a student. This means that Berkeley is very welcoming, really focused on the student experience. As I mentioned, we're near Oakland and San Francisco. We're also about 40 minutes from Silicon Valley, which is the tech hub of California. This makes our location really ideal for students who want to take advantage of being in a diverse community. They want to have access to cultural events, but also internship potential that you might find in a major city. So it's especially great for industries like technology, film, business, and computer science. And Berkeley is one of the premier universities in the world, so ranked first among US public universities by US News and World Report. And really, one of the primary reasons for this is our students. So our students are coming in every single year with your commitment to service, leadership skills, intellectual curiosity, really the ability to think outside the box. And that's what makes us who we are as an institution. Even though Berkeley is a large campus, you're looking at a student to faculty ratio of 18:1. About 70% of your classes will be 30 students or less. So we're doing a lot to make things very manageable and ensure you're getting access to faculty. When it comes to academics, here at Berkeley, we have over 100 different undergraduate majors in 5 colleges and 1 school. So the College of Letters and Sciences is our largest college. They have about approximately 75% of our incoming students that are admitted there. We also have the College of Chemistry, which is one of our smaller colleges. It's actually one of the only colleges in the country specifically dedicated to the discipline of chemistry. Next up, our College of Engineering. They're the most competitive college to gain admission to at the university and one of the top engineering colleges in the world. Our College of Environmental Design, they're focusing on things like architecture and urban planning. And the Rausser College of Natural Resources, they're actually the oldest college in the UC system. And they have an emphasis really on the intersection of natural resources, or the lack of them, and human health. And then last but not least, our Berkeley Haas School of Business. They're the 2nd oldest business school in the US and one of the top ranked. So for more information on the majors that I just mentioned and the university, I definitely recommend checking out our academic guide. I'll put a link in the chat for you all. And you can also join me in the breakout room momentarily just to ask any questions that you might have. But for right now, I am going to turn it over. We have a video for UC Davis. So let me just pull that up real quick.
Well, Danielle's pulling that up. I'll just say briefly, UC Davis is the largest land-wise of any of the UC campuses with over 2,145 hectares. We actually, when there was only one University of California campus, we were the agricultural science school until we became our own comprehensive campus later on. I want to give everyone a little break from hearing our voices and show this video of just some of the things the Davis experience offers you.
Awesome. I love it. I'm just going to shift back to the presentation. Amelia, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think anything else, come see me in the breakout room. I don't want to give you just a list of majors. We're a large, comprehensive campus with many graduate professional programs and undergraduate majors. So.
Awesome. And then Pimjai, you want to share on your campus?
Yes, I don't know how to top that. That video is amazing. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Amelia. So University of California, Irvine, we're located in the heart of Orange County in Southern California. So we're quite way down from Berkeley and Davis, where when you're looking at Southern California, Irvine is situated at like halfway point between Los Angeles and San Diego. So our students do enjoy the close vicinity to these major metropolitan cities and also vacation destinations. And location plays such an important role in our student college experience as well, because it affords our students to have a really well-balanced student work life by being able to live on campus and still enjoy like the internships that are available locally. We have, while we don't have like Google headquarters in the area, there is Google Irvine office. There's Boeing about 20 minutes away. Broadcom is in the area as well. So you'll find opportunities for part-time jobs, internships, and an ability to connect with recruiters in the area. Students also enjoy like multicultural scenes and food scenes in Irvine, in Orange County. We have, we're only 5 miles away from the beautiful beaches like Newport Beach, Laguna Beach. If you are an outdoor person, there's plenty of hiking and biking trails as well that our students enjoy on the weekend. We're ranked number 2 for the coolest school for sustainability. And, we're actually in 2018, we're like one of the first universities in the country that kind of abandoned all the traditional like diesel fuel powered buses, and we're now all electric shuttle buses and hydrogen fuel run buses. So it's really good because of the gas price now is really high. So that certainly helps save a lot of money on our campus. But that's one of the things that we're really proud of is our sustainability initiatives that are happening across all levels throughout the campus. Our school is relatively large. We have 30,000 undergraduate students studying over 150 majors and minors. Some of the popular programs or unique programs that we offer are like data science, game design, and interactive media. We're the only UC school that has our own collegiate or our own esports arena first, but we also offer collegiate esports team that offers scholarships, competitive scholarships. And we have competitive players in League of Legends, in Overwatch. Those are the 2 primary games that we play competitively nationally. We also have a very strong program in dance, nursing science, material science and engineering. We're also very strong in cognitive science as well. We have our own medical school, pharmacy school, and medical center for those who are interested in health professional programs. And we also have very awesome, cool mascot, Peter the Anteater, as you can see there on the slide. But I look forward to talking with you and sharing with you all more information about our campus in just a moment. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And so we do have all 4 campuses available to speak to you in breakout rooms. Highly encourage you to jump from room to room, get your questions answered on all 4 campuses, but I'll turn it over to Education USA. Do you all have any additional instructions about the breakout rooms that would be helpful for the students?
Okay. Thank you, Daniel and colleague, for fabulous presentation. And for the next 30 minutes, we have the breakout room. So if you guys have a question about
शुभ ब्रेकआउट रूम में हर यूनिवर्सिटी के अलग अलग रिप्रेजेंटेटिव के साथ, तो बर्कली वाला ज्वाइन कर ले, अच्छा सेशन है।
Hello,
Terus
Arti. Could you
gunakan.
turn off your mic for a moment? Thank you, Arti. So for the next 30 minutes, we have the breakout room. If you have any question, please ask directly to our colleague from the University of California. Jadi teman-teman, kita punya 30 menit ke depan untuk breakout room. Jadi kalau ada pertanyaan, silahkan langsung saja untuk bertanya langsung kepada perwakilan dari masing-masing kampus. Anda boleh berpindah dari satu room ke room yang lainnya untuk menanyakan pertanyaan Anda. So, Iqbal, could you help us to open the breakout room?
Sure.
Thank you, Iqbal. Okay, the breakout room is open. Please join the room for a colleague from the University of California. So, now teman-teman sudah bisa memilih untuk room yang mana untuk bertanya. Silahkan langsung aja bertanya ke mereka masing-masing. Anda punya 30 menit untuk menanyakan ke mereka. Nanti kita akan kasih tahu kalau waktunya memang sudah mau habis. Terima kasih.
Education USA advisors will be standby at this main room, but feel free to choose which breakout rooms or which university that you want to do, because it is like open and we actually do not need to okay. Oh, we need to assign them. Iqbal, can you like open all the breakout room without people to assign? Because it doesn't show.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Please
Pak, can
type
you help
the
me?
chat room. Yep.
Okay. I'll make you a host.
Sambil kita menunggu untuk breakout room, jadi yang pengen ke room mana, silahkan untuk menuliskan namanya terlebih dahulu. Nanti akan kita coba untuk assign ke room yang Anda pilih.
Okay, Aryan 2.